The audio's on. We'll give it another minute.
It really does. In our agenda too, we should have a section for how much you know, and then for you guys to do a report if you'd like. I think that's a really good idea. I will add that.
All right, I call this meeting to order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Trustee Moore. There's a flag here in the back.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Suzanne. All right, first on the agenda, good news, Mr. Hilderly.
Good news. We got students. We are a school, by the way, so we should have students, and we're excited tonight for a couple of different things. The board knows that in our strategic plan, we have a couple of tenets that we wanted to increase student input into the district. So we have asked students to be a part of our board meetings. When it was originally conceived, I think we all thought that maybe we would have a member who would be maintained for a period of time. But what we found out is that many of our leaders, especially in the senior class, have lots of other things to do. They're involved in clubs, in sports, and so on. So the concept that we came up with was to rotate the members out of the leadership class here at Tecumseh High School. And we have our first two members here. Welcome to the board for this evening. Genevieve Lucas to my right and Eliza Longabaugh to my left. They're both very nervous, but I can tell you this, you hit the board meeting jackpot tonight in that it's a very short agenda. So there shouldn't be too much going on, but what we're looking for by doing this is a student perspective. Certainly the students won't have a vote on anything that would come up as an action item, but I know that board members, and we've had real good recent success with student input on some of the things that we've done. So we just encourage you to give us your thoughts and help the board make as many good decisions as they can. So when you go back and share this experience with your classmates, just let them know that that's what we're looking for. The board's very interested in hearing what the students have to say before they make decisions. So thank you for being here tonight, you two. And then we next have as good news a few of the members of Will Ramsel's AP Calc class who performed extremely well last year. It's nice when you have a lot of kids who not only take the AP tests but pass. And this year, Mr. Ramsel's class hit 100%. 37, is it? 37. 37 out of 37 of the kids who took the AP test passed for credit. So I'll let you tell a little bit more about the effort that took. And I know you have some kids here tonight, but you have others that you want to recognize.
Thank you.
Students will rise to the level of expectations. All we need is ganas, the desire to want to do well. This was a quote by Jaime Escalante. Jaime Escalante was a high school mathematics teacher who was known for teaching students calculus at Garfield High School in East Los Angeles in the 80s. His students did so well on the AP Calculus exam, College Board accused them of cheating. This led to the popular 1988 film Stand and Deliver. I too believe students will rise to the level of expectations that are put upon them. Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank you for taking the time to invite us to your board meeting this evening. This evening isn't about me. It's about recognizing the success of the students who took the AP Calculus AB exam last May. In high school, we have our general courses, followed by the honor courses, and then there are AP courses. Advanced placement is truly a more rigorous and demanding course for both teachers and students alike. The constant prepping and pacing for the teacher, down to the time that is sacrificed outside the classroom for the students. Students who enroll in AP, whether it's AP English, AP Environmental Science, AP Calculus, or any other AP courses, have an end game in mind: to take the AP exam in May to hopefully get college credit. These exams are composed of a variety of different questions, both multiple choice and free response, and must be taken with a proctor. These exams are not open note and are extremely challenging, which are based on all the content in the course from September day 1 until May. Our AP Calculus AP exam is about 4 hours long. It's a lengthy exam. All AP exams are graded on a 5-point scale, with 3 being the lowest passing score and 5 being the best score one could get. This doesn't matter what exam you are taking. They are all on a 5-point scale. A score of a 1 or 2 does not grant college credit. Now, allow me to share with you the numbers of how our students performed last year. The average nationally for the AP Calculus AB exam was 2.91, and 55.7% of students nationwide passed with a 3 or higher. The average for the state of Michigan was a little higher, 3.02, and 59.2% of students in Michigan passed with a score of 3 or higher. So how did Tecumseh compare to all of this? For the 2021-2022 school year, I had 2 sections of AP Calculus AB for a grand total of 37 students. All 37 students took the AP Calculus exam in May, and all 37 of them passed. For Tecumseh High School, our pass rate was 100%, and on that 5-point scale, we averaged a 4.51 for our school.
Wow.
Not only that, we had 25 students score a 5, 6 students scored a 4, and 6 students scored a 3. I could not find any data for any AP class of this size of 34 or more students over the years at THS that even remotely came close to this. I would like to take a moment and congratulate those 37 students, especially the ones that were able to make it today. Andrew Rowe, Evan Pollitt, Blakely Rains, Haley Fazekas, and Maddie McRoberts. Now it didn't work out this way, and I wasn't going to say this, but all 5 of them got 5s last year.
That is really impressive.
As their teacher, I couldn't be more proud of the hard work and the time they sacrificed to do well in AP Calculus. Here's a glimpse of what their year was like. Homework almost every night. And let's be real, it was homework every night. Every chapter had a 2-day exam. In AP, we don't call them tests anymore, but they're exams. These mimic the real AP exams in May, they were just shorter. On snow days, we keep pushing through the material. Hence, the beauty of the videos that I make. We don't lose any time. We set out to complete the course by spring break, and we do. This gives us a month to review the entire course in April, and during this time, it gives us time to take real exams from the past. Those real exams give us a good indicator of how they're going to perform when they take the exam in May. Almost every weekend, they have a weekend review over past concepts so they don't forget what they learned. That constant spiraling makes the exam in May so much more easier, and they will probably tell you that. They hate them in the moment, but after the exam, they realize the value of those weekend reviews. I put these students through the ringer, and yet, can you believe that even after AP Calculus AB, that 20 of these students would want to return and take AP Calculus BC with me? It means the world to me that I get to serve these students one last time. My biggest fear with this being my first year teaching Calculus BC is that I will let them down, that I will fail them. I told them that I will give them everything I got, and I will hold my end of that bargain. I have to. I know they will. This is our 3rd and final year together, and I want to raise that bar extremely high. We have talked about their last day as seniors, what it will be like in my class, and I honestly don't want to think about it. It will be tough to say our final goodbyes as they walk out of my classroom one last time. But that is the nature of high school. Part of the journey is the end. We will finish on a high note, and we will be here again next year to celebrate their accomplishments on the BC exam. In closing, I'd like to give praise to all our AP teachers. Based on the data for the 2021-2022 school year, it looks like we had a pass rate of around 80%, which is truly awesome. The year before was about 67. I would like to give a shout out to Parker Gadboy, who taught AP English last year for the first time. He had 10 students take that exam, and all 10 students passed. John Laney, who taught AP Environmental Science, had a high pass rate. He almost broke an average of a 4.0. Every AP course except for one had a pass rate of 3 or higher. I believe our AP program will continue to grow and excel. Our AP program challenges every student every day. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for recognizing them for their hard work.
It's great.
Yeah.
Ramsel,
You
what
wanna-
we'd like to do is just circle them around the back of the table. We'd like to congratulate everybody individually. This is stream right through.
More tonight, it's late.
Thank you.
Did so much.
As Mr. Ramsel mentioned, he doesn't want the credit, doesn't expect it. And the kids obviously deserve very much our appreciation for their hard work. But leadership matters, and a good teacher is required to make sure that that gets hammered home. So thank you to Mr. Ramsel. And I had a conversation with Blakely Rains' mom this week about periodically bringing in all of those kids who did well on AP exams last year to celebrate their accomplishments as well. But that 37 for 37 was something that had to be recognized.
Super Bowl.
It's quite an accomplishment for any school anywhere to have that kind of a pass rate. So very happy about that. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, just a couple comments on your good news. I mean, I want to just say to the two students in attendance, welcome. And secondly, the board's pretty good. If you want to say something, stare at me, right? You don't have to raise your hand. This isn't class, but just look at me and act like you want to say something, and I'll recognize you, right? And
the
it's
person next to you.
Yeah, either of us will stop.
yeah, you can raise your hand if you want, but don't feel like you have to. And we do have a comment section at the end for board members, and certainly we'd love for you to participate in that if you want. Unfortunately, we're going to have a closed session first before that, so we'll have to ask you to wait till after the closed session. You won't be able to attend the closed session, but we'd love to hear from you in the comment section. And again, as Mr. Hillary said, we don't have a lot of discussion here, but hopefully you've been on the Washington DC trip and you can share some of that with us when we get there. All right, and then I guess we'll say the rest later. All right, next is public comment on agenda items. Do we have any public here with the comment on agenda items? Okay, we have a public comment at the end for non-agenda items, okay? Thank you. Again, that is after the closed session, so we look forward to hearing from you then. Any other comments on agenda items? Okay. Revisions, or we're going to the board agenda. Revisions or approval of the agenda?
Removing an action item.
Well, we can certainly discuss that. It has been suggested that we remove the action item for the preschool wage and benefit agreement. There's a belief that needs to go to the policy committee and get a little more work. Any comment on that?
No, I agree with that logic.
Mhm.
So I would make a motion to remove it from the agenda until it's reviewed by the committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to remove the preschool wage and benefit agreement. Any other comments or discussions? Roll call vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Chair? Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. One of those days, trust me. All right, so that is removed. So now, are there any other changes? I'm not aware of any. If that's the case, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the revised agenda. Roll call vote. Trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Agenda is approved. Scheduled reports. First on the list is the bond committee. I guess you want to talk or you want me to talk?
Go ahead.
All right, well, I'm gonna
No.
call on you in a minute, but I did send out an email to the board here this week about what's happening. There's lots of stuff happening. And I did receive some feedback from a couple board members and I really appreciate that. But if I pull up that, so I don't forget everything, I'll pull up that email I probably can't find. So the activity is, we're hot and heavy into this, right? The absentee ballots come out the end of September. We're preparing for a media information blitz, so to speak, in September, and then one again in October, preparing for the November election. We have the flyer that I don't know if anybody brought with them. I left them in my car, but we have the promotional flyer that we've been sending out. We intend to put that in the Telegram, the Herald. That will be in the Herald later this month as an insert. We have some postcards that we're going to be sending in the mail with information on them. We have an informational video that we'll be able to put up on social media, and then also we will tie it to the website. The website, and I'll get Tim to comment on the website here in a minute. We are planning to attend a lot of events in town. We're starting with, we've been doing some. Mary's done a few at the, I think she was at TCA this year already, and the car show, and trying to get to more people. We're going to have a presence at the football games the next 2 weeks. Trustee Brooks suggested that maybe somebody could do the farmers market, and we'll discuss that tomorrow at the meeting. But just trying to we're gonna have a little like a business card that we found that with the big flyers when we hand them out at the football games, people aren't reading them at the football games, right? They're ending up and end up underneath the bleachers, and we're having to pick them up. So we're thinking if we give them a little business card that has the website on the back, they'll go to that later. So Tim, where are we at with the website?
Hopefully it'll be live tonight. We're waiting for the DNS to go through all the servers across the country. So that'll be up and running. So you guys will be able to go in and start critiquing it. But it's going to be a kind of a living, breathing creature. And, we still need to get some better photographs. We'll discuss that tomorrow. So at the meeting, to show what needs to be repaired in each building and so forth. But the structure's there, everything's there, just missing a few pieces here and there, but it'll be live. And like I said, it's a living creature once it
That's
goes
what
live.
websites
So,
are, right?
Yep,
Living creatures.
yep. So
I would just like to say that we have two students here. I know that people come in and help you with registering to vote. Is that happened yet?
No,
Might be
not yet.
great if you might consider, encouraging people to vote in terms of getting registered to vote. That's your right as an 18-year-old. It's kind of a thing that we do have a lady here from the League of Women Voters. Just even having a discussion, obviously when we're doing this bond, we can't tell people how to vote or anything like that, but you could certainly raise a level of alertness to your peers who are 18 that there is election coming up, and getting registered to vote is important for that.
Yeah, not just for the bond, but for
For
everything.
everything.
Right. Rick, do you have any comments on the bond activity?
No, just that, you mentioned some of the activities coming up, Friday's football game. We expect a big crowd for the Adrian matchup, and then again for homecoming the week after. So all board members who can come. If you didn't get one of the new orange shirts from this year, let Veronica know. We've got limited sizes left. But I think if the group appears near the gate area and hands out
Sure.
those cards, they can just slip in people's pockets instead of the big flyer with information, and that'll refer them to the website. Just to kind of, get the idea going that this is coming up again and keep it in the front of people's minds. So we're looking forward to a successful run for November.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I have
on
a
this?
question.
Yep.
Has the bond committee been able to meet with the yes committee to share the new facts of the two portions of the ballot and that sort
I
of
just
information?
met with our leaders of the advocacy committee last week. We have another meeting on Thursday this week, and we have a date for that campaign to kick off coming up at the end of September. So I'll kind of be a conduit between the two.
Yeah, the S committee's not quite kicked in gear yet. We're certainly, our bond committee was way ahead of them.
Well, I think that's the right sequence. I mean, for us to get the factual information out as the board, and then they can take that and build their campaign as.
Yeah, I will just say to the general public who's here or maybe listening, we heard you loud and clear after the last campaign. We have lots of information. We have lots of data. We have lots of whys. Why? I honestly believe we have providing you with the information you need. Certainly, if not, come to us and ask, but we heard you, and we're really putting a big time effort into doing that. Anything else? All right, discussion items. First on the list is the Washington DC trip. Do we have?
This is a recurring trip, and Tricia from the middle school and also Katie Marco will be able to talk a little bit about this year's version and maybe answer any questions that you might have.
Well, Rick took my introduction. Again, Tricia Howard, principal at the middle school. This is Katie Carthew, our trip coordinator, and everything last year. So I'm going to let Katie share the information on the trip.
So we're looking forward to hopefully offering this opportunity to our students yet again for the 2023 school year. Tentatively, we're hoping to plan or to travel with Student Adventures again. The trip looks very, very similar to how it did last year. We're adopting hopefully a very similar itinerary. Some of the highlights include the wreath laying ceremony again, which despite being super hot last year was a really, really great experience for our kiddos. Last year we got to go to what is the official name? The National Museum of the United States Army. It's a brand new museum, opened just last year. It's beautiful. Our students were really, really interested in that. We're going to bring back the ghost tour at Gettysburg, which is very exciting. That was highly requested, and we're very excited to offer that. The trip is tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, May 17th. We'll depart TMS at 4 a.m. And then head back to Tecumseh, leaving Smoky Glen Farms Friday night. And then we'll arrive back in Tecumseh at 7 a.m., between 6 and 7. The cost of the trip has gone up a little bit this year just due to the nature of things. And Student Adventures is offering us again the opportunity to require cancellation insurance for our participants, which worked out really well last year for a plethora of reasons. We had a lot of students between 2 months out and 2 days out from our departure feel like they could not go with us. And because everybody had this insurance, they were able to get the majority of their money back. So for students with insurance, if we require it, it's going to be about $800. And then for adults, chaperones that are traveling with us, it'll be $907. The price would be less if we didn't require insurance. But again, just with the way things are, I would strongly recommend purchasing it again this year. And Student Adventures, if we do that, they give us a little bit of kind of like a group discount to make it a little bit more affordable. We're hoping to kind of start this process for our families soon so that we can give them more time to spread out payments. We have fundraisers planned, we have some scholarships planned. So we're really hoping to get as many students that are interested to go with us this year. I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns about the trip.
How many years have you done this?
So last year was my second year. I did it in 2017 and then had a little bit of a break. And we brought it back last year. And so this will be my third official trip coordinating.
But we do this every year or no?
Many years.
How many
Oh.
years has the middle school did it?
Mostly since
Before,
2006.
Okay. Skip some years because of COVID or whatnot.
Yes, that was kind of our break in between.
So the excitement is really there because
First day.
seventh graders saw the trip from last year and, they're excited.
Yes.
Do either of the your students have comments on? Did you go?
It was,
Yes.
it was, it was a
It
lot
was
of
a
fun.
wonderful and very informative trip just about our country and everything,
Yeah,
and it was
like-
lots of fun.
I've been to DC multiple times with my family, but going with like my friends and my teachers was more because I got to see more of what I didn't and learn more.
Yeah. So what would you say the highlight?
I loved the Library of Congress.
Yeah,
It
it's
was.
beautiful.
It's a beautiful building, and
It's
also just
pretty.
learning all about the history is just it's
Yeah.
incredible.
It doesn't look like it doesn't look like much from the outside, but it's very beautiful on the inside. All the books just like lining the walls, like the chandeliers, all like the paintings that you see around. It's gorgeous.
I'm personally a reader and just a general lover of history, and it was an incredible trip. And also, personally, for our graduating class, we're relatively close knit, and so I feel like that even just helped to bring us more together because we're with each other for a few days, just 24/7. And it was just a wonderful trip, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, there you go.
How do you say no to that?
Nothing better than endorsement,
Oh my goodness.
testimonial.
Sounds like you might have a few student chaperones.
I know. Oh my goodness. You guys got some free time in May? It
All I
just-
know is that my daughter and her friendship group are already talking
That-
about it.
First day of school, it was before I even introduced myself. They were like, "Are we doing that again this year? Because you did it last year." So I was like, "I'm working on it." So I'm very, very excited. Last year, it was just so cool to see. I literally had a couple kids run up when we were out at the memorials, and just this was their first time out of Tecumseh. It was their first time having traveled without their parents, and just seeing them experience so many different people and things and food. It was a really neat experience. We're working hard this year to also incorporate some other events throughout the school year that will just further tie into, this trip for our students, just to kind of keep that momentum and excitement and hands-on learning going. So we're hoping just to make it better every year.
Any other questions or comments? All
I
right,
just-
so as I think most of you saw, the staff here has asked for us to move this along and not maybe wait 2 weeks to vote on this. So I guess we have three options, as Rick explained. We can leave it alone and wait 2 weeks. We can move a motion to move it to an action item. Or I don't know, there is, I guess, in our new board policy, the right to let the superintendent or designee approve this. So I guess any comments on any of those options?
Well, I have one comment for Ms. Carthu, but if you're planning events and you want any virtual things, so I used to work as a lobbyist in DC, so I have some, I sent you an email today, but I have some contacts that, Kaylee's my daughter, by the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, I know. She's
Okay.
adorable.
I'm glad to hear that. Eighth graders aren't always super adorable. But anyway, but if there's anything that I can do, like to connect you with
Awesome.
like people that have worked in the White House or worked in Congress or those types of things, let me know.
That would be, and especially for our kiddos that stay back, I would love to connect on that too, just to give them a little bit more of that experience too, while they're here in Tecumseh. That would be awesome.
And secondly, my preference is to let Mr. Hilderly make the final decision for the new policy. So let's use the new policies that we have. So
I agree
that's
with
my opinion.
Are you making a motion?
Well,
No, I'm
let's
just
have
giving my
discussion
opinion.
first. I mean, I guess is there anybody else have?
I agree with that, but I just want to make sure I mean, we do this every year, but and I like to be reminded every year because it's good news.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but you can,
Right,
I'm
and
okay
as
with you
I,
making the decision.
as I described in my guidance today, in the future, what we'll try to do is bundle things together that we know are happening during the year, review them in one meeting in August, and then the board will have knowledge of it. It'll be a part of the minutes, but then the president can then direct me to make those approvals. And it just expedites the process. We have another trip coming up that we're going to hear about in a moment that is a new trip that maybe we wouldn't follow that same
Right,
process.
I
But
agree.
with trips that we're aware of and have been successful and are fairly routine, that's my recommendation.
I'm sure they're hot to do some fundraising.
Aren't you the principal that started this?
It was in
Mhm.
2006.
Anybody else have any comments? So do we need to have a motion?
Doesn't take board action. If it's just the consensus of the board, then the
Right,
president.
so I believe, is there anybody that I guess objects to that, just having, the board will direct Mr. Hiller to approve, per the policy, to approve this. And again, with the understanding that new trips will come before the board for stringent review and vote. We will use this policy. And again, we'll have a talk about it, but we'll just then direct you to do that. So I guess, without any objections, the board's going to direct you to address this request.
Very good.
Okay?
I can do that tomorrow.
All right.
And
Thank
then,
you.
and then, and then maybe after the trip's over, they come back and have a couple students with them and tell us
That would
about
be
the trip.
great.
Show
Didn't-
us
didn't they do
show
that
us some
last time?
pictures.
I
They
thought,
did.
I thought that happened last year.
Yeah, you came back last time and talked to
I'd
us
like to
about
see
it,
some
right?
pictures too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I remember you. Well, that's the requirement.
Bring
That's
pictures.
a requirement, okay? And pictures. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the high school band Nashville trip. Do we have anyone here?
Mr. McKincheck,
There he is.
I thought he was
Sorry.
maybe
I can see
going
you
to play
back
a
there.
butt trombone solo, but apparently
No?
Yeah, I just.
Ah.
He just said band, didn't he? Are you going to do
All right.
that too?
Is this the same thing that was in our packet?
it's also in your board packet.
Oh, okay. So I have, so you can give Genevieve a copy.
Does anybody else need this?
I have. Does anybody else need a copy?
Do I pass it down to Tony?
No, I have it.
Of this?
Oh, I have it.
No. I have this. All right, we'll just do it like this.
That's on there.
I don't use the
Mr.
paper.
McKincheck.
Yes, well,
Thank you.
we are very excited actually to offer this as a trip to our entire Tecumseh High School Music Department. This is a trip that we tried to take as a band and orchestra in March of 2020, and some minor world-shaking events canceled that for us. So we're very happy to bring this trip back to Nashville for our band, orchestra, and choir students. As you heard from the testimonials and presentation that we just heard, there's nothing like a trip like this to just bring our students together and establish some camaraderie and goodwill for them. So it's an exciting trip that we're planning to one of the great music cities of our nation, and a lot of thought was put into it, especially to offer it to our entire music department, because when we offer it to all three of our disciplines, it's much easier for our families to make sure that they are able to attend those events. You know, if you have a choir student, band student, orchestra student that we share amongst those disciplines, it's much more difficult for them to afford a trip that maybe each discipline would be taking every 2 years, for example. So we wanted to make sure that as a department, we present this for our students. And again, it's a very exciting opportunity for them to see one of our great cities.
Is this a plan to make this a yearly event?
No, this would be a one-year trip. This year only. We would, of course, like to bring trips back to our department every few years, perhaps, so that at some point, any Tecumseh High School music student would be able to take a trip. New York would be one, for example, maybe down to Florida another time. Don't quote me on those in the future, but that way some of our students in the music department would be able to take a trip like this at some point during their high school careers.
So you're hoping that during their 4-year career, they'll get at least one.
Exactly. Yes.
What, and I know that I'm not supposed to quote you in this, but Florida would be because of Disney, or, I mean,
For example, yes, different areas of the country offer different music opportunities. On the agenda itinerary for this one, for example, our jazz band would get the opportunity to tour Studio B, where Elvis recorded so many of his songs throughout his career, and songwriting workshops for our choir students. So we'd look for opportunities that all of our music students would be able to have some sort of specific and unique opportunity for their discipline.
Geographically, it's close too. This is like
Which is helpful because it's
I want to go.
Yeah.
More saffron, I like this.
All right.
Studio
I'll
B.
let you know if
Ain't too proud to
we have
beg,
enough
I
room on
like
those
that.
buses. Yeah.
Music hall.
so again, just quickly, and there was some of us, we did, the only one that would be performing probably is the choir.
No, each of our ensembles will be able to perform. So
Oh.
we'd have a choir performance, an orchestra performance, a band performance. Our jazz band would get the chance to record in that studio. Yeah. So again, very very excited about the
Just remember
opportunity.
Nashville, that's fiddling song.
We'll try and fit it.
Do you have any idea on how many students?
Right now, we're looking at reserving 2 coach buses, which will be about 100 total for the trip: chaperones, teachers, and students.
So how many students is that out of your total?
Depends on how many sign up. We have about thinking 68 in our high school band class alone, high school symphony band, and then others, of course, in the orchestra and choirs. I don't know their numbers exactly. So typically, when we do a trip like this, kind of like the DC trip, not every student signs up to
About a
participate.
quarter or somewhere between a quarter and half or
more than that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we would be looking for like probably, I would say that would maybe be like a 70, 75, 80%.
Oh, that's
just
good.
roughly. So
So you think 70?
The opportunity to add more buses if if the desire is so great.
we would hope so. Yeah,
Okay.
if our travel agent would be able to
Okay.
to do that. We're working with an agent that we've traveled with in the past as well. They do great work. They're former music teachers as
Oh,
well, so
nice.
they understand the needs of music department when they're traveling.
So the cost is 590 for students?
I believe that was on the.
Yeah, it's
approval
on the,
document. I don't think
the
it's
one
on
document we
the,
got.
yeah, it's
Six-
not on the handout that I just gave, but that is on
Somewhere
our
I read
document
it.
that's submitted to Mr. Hilberly. The costs for chaperones and students.
So 590 for students, 675 for adults. You plan to do fundraisers?
Yes. Yes, general fundraisers and student-specific fundraisers.
And you're also planning for March.
Yes, before our spring break.
This was May. Was the other one May?
Yeah.
May, okay. March.
sounds awesome.
Anybody else have any questions?
What's the expectation of the students? Because they'll be out of school. Are they given their assignments ahead of time? Is there?
Yes, pre-planned, even though they'll be missing some school, it's important that they take care of those responsibilities. We'll have a nice long bus ride that they'll be able to take care of something.
Good luck getting them to do
Turn
their
in
homework on the bus
electronic.
ride.
Wi-Fi for Google Classroom only, of course, on those buses.
Are either of you orchestra band students?
I'm a choir student. I'm in our audition choir.
Yeah, so how do you feel about this?
I would love to. I know people who, from the graduating class last year, went on the New York City trip, and it was just one of their best high school experiences, getting to be with their music family and everything. And it'd be really fun to go on.
My daughter was on that trip.
The New York City trip?
I'll never forget it.
Oh, good. So you're recommending, Genevieve, you're recommending we
Yes, I
support
would.
this? Okay. All right, well, this is, with the timing's not, if we wait for 2 weeks to approve this, you're okay? The timing or,
Why don't we handle it the same way?
It would.
well, because this is a
it's
new
a new
trip.
one, but
So,
still, now we know about it.
well, but I think the new trip, we decided, we can move to vote on it right now if you need us to.
Sooner is better because of payment deadlines for families. We want to make sure that they have enough time
Okay.
to gather funds if that's necessary. So
When will their payment deadlines be?
we have a tentative
Typically-
calendar right now of 4 payments. The first one could be as soon as the end of this month. So
With that said,
Then we
we
might have to
I
suspend the
think we
rules.
should move to suspend the rules.
Why can't we just let Rick handle it? It's the same thing that we just did. Only we talked
could.
about listing all of them in the beginning, all of the repeated trips, but
Is
we
it-
heard what he has to say and it sounds wonderful and I
And
say
I
we
don't-
let Rick approve it.
I don't know that it's technically a new trip. The board has approved previously
To New York.
Music trips, right,
They're
to
just
different
other
places.
locations.
Is this
Okay.
the same travel company too that you used when you went to New York? So really, you're
Oh,
right.
to
And
New
to your
York, no, I
point,
apologize.
it's not necessarily.
No,
a
she
new-
said.
not to
Oh,
New York.
okay.
When we previously planned the trip in
Oh,
2020,
and you
though,
had approval at that time when you
Correct.
did it. So to your point, it isn't necessarily a new trip, and
Okay, so,
Right, could do
I mean,
that.
is everybody good?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, well then I guess the board directs Mr. Hillary to address this situation as well.
But I agree, if it's a new concept of a trip or something, the board should probably approve it.
Well, right,
Yeah, if it's not on that list, then we should definitely hear about it.
right. All right, very good.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
All right, so, that's all discussion items. We have no additional action items, so, we have the consent agenda. Do you have a motion for that?
I'll make a
consent?
motion that we approve the minutes from the regular board meeting of August 22nd, 2022.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the last board meeting. Roll call vote, trustee Davis,
aye.
trustee Lewis.
Should I say aye or abstain since I wasn't here on that day?
Well, you've reviewed, I'm sure you
I looked at
reviewed the
this.
minutes.
Aye.
Aye, 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 aye.
Trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee
Aye, aye.
Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, the consent agenda is approved. Next on our agenda, is superintendent report, Mr. Hillerly.
School startup, this is our first board meeting since the resumption of school. And aside from one weather event, we had a fairly unremarkable start to the school year, very routine. The prep work was put in place, open houses went very well. We weren't restructuring anything, so there wasn't moving to be done. The cleaning was in place, so yes, Herrick Park was without power for a couple of days, and we managed our way through that. We'll see what happens with weather days for the rest of the year before we have to make a decision about extending the school year for those two grade levels at that building. That'll be a spring decision. Which leads to the next point. I do want to just mention that there was some damage to the controls of the HVAC system at Herrick Park. Thought the cost was going to be rather large. The bid actually, the 2 bids that we were able to get came in at around $25,000. Slightly under the bid threshold, but I approved those under the emergency language in the board policy. It will be an insurance claim, so we're going to recapture some or all of the damage cost. But if we were able to approve it quickly, we were able to get on their schedule, which Mr. Hawkins tells me is estimated at about a 2-week repair. So hopefully by the end of this month, those control systems will be back in place. So that's it. Like I said, fairly routine and successful start up to the school year, and things are going well.
So what measures will be taken if between now and repair the temperatures rise up again as they're planning
Yeah,
to do
this
towards the end?
week we look pretty good. The hope is to recirculate the air overnight, so that it continues to keep the temperatures inside the building cool by using outside air with our temperatures going down in the 50s. And then, putting fans in place, I guess, in places where it may get warm throughout the day.
Do we have fans for every room?
What's the timeline on the repair? 2 weeks?
We're 2 weeks.
Oh,
2 weeks from today, as of the report that I had from Mr.
Just to kind
Hawkins.
of not need air.
Right.
There wasn't no AC in that building when I went
I don't know
there.
what the,
What's that?
You didn't have air?
There was no AC in that building when I went there.
Yeah, they can just
Right.
toughen up, right?
Yeah,
I-
open up the window.
Look how he turned out.
I know.
I sometimes remind people that 80% of the school buildings in Michigan do not have air conditioning. We have it, so we want to try to make it work when it can work. And we'll get through for a couple of weeks.
Keep watching those weather
Pretty
reports.
sure it wasn't there when I was there.
Mhm. Was it?
I don't know that air conditioning exists.
Well,
Oh,
we
now
had the
that's
products,
mean.
they had
All right, they compressors. All right, thanks, Rick. Any other questions or comments for Rick? Okay, items discussed for next agenda. Well, I mean, we'll have some news. I don't know of any discussion items or action items, but certainly some will come up. But right now, I do not know of any that'll be on the agenda next time. So, at this time, we
Well,
will.
we'll probably, I'm sorry, we'll probably have the preschool wage and benefit when we talk about our policy. We might
Possibly.
We
have
do have
something
a
to
policy
bring up.
committee meeting between now and then. so
We have
it's
one
possible.
Wednesday. Mhm.
Possibly that. Let me make a note of that. So when I go back and look. Okay. All right. Anything else that I missed? All right. At this time, we will need to move to a closed session. I guess we'll need a motion to do that.
I make
So-
a motion, we move into a closed session for, what were the reasons?
Attorney,
Public
Attorney-client
announcement.
privilege.
There you go.
yeah, so pursuant to PA Act 267, Section 172, Section 181E, attorney-client privileges. It's been moved. Any second?
Second.
It's been moved to second to go to closed session for attorney-client privileges. Roll call vote, trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Brooks,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
chair votes aye. We are moving to closed session. Are we gonna stay here?
We will stay here. We'll just ask the gallery to exit if you'd
You
like to
guys
come
might
back
have checked
in.
with this
Um,
nice
you
lady
can
over
send
here
out
in
the
red.
What's that?
Okay. And like if it's pursuant.
Maybe that'd be a
We're like, we have to get it out of the way. 'cause-
So I will make a motion that,
Right.
oh, wait,
No
sorry.
motion.
I'll make a motion that we come out of closed session.
Well,
Support.
yeah, we're coming out of closed session. We are not a closed session, 8:02 PM. There are no action items needed out of the closed session. So, given that, we'll move on to public comment. Now we have time for public comment. Please note that there is a 3-minute limit on this, and I will set once you start talking, come on up here if you have comment. And I'll set my timer once you begin.
Hello, my name is Elise Rosas. I'm at this meeting on September 12th, 2020. I'm an 11th grader currently attending Tecumseh Public Schools. I'm here to talk about the dress code on a student's behalf. The dress code handbook states no clothing that represents violence, guns, political affiliations, drugs, alcohol, or inappropriate language. It goes on to further state clothing that exposes midriffs and boys' and girls' chests also applies to school-related events. With the midriff rule, I hear you when you say you're getting us ready for the real world and work and not dress provocatively. But some of us want to own our own business and such. Therefore, no one understands that rule. With prom, I do realize that is a school-related event, but it's always someplace else. Therefore, I don't think the code should be intact, even though it is school-related. The cleavage rule is completely biased. I see more girls with a bigger cup size get coded compared to girls with smaller cup size. And the handbook states how staff can decide if it's okay or not, and if you are following all the rules, it should be fine. Let us express ourselves, because as you say, jobs won't let us express ourselves. To bring into fact, a student that goes to Tecumseh Public Schools, remaining anonymous, has contacted me and said they have a contract at their job and wears crop tops to work and isn't seen nothing less than professional. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, with that, we'll move on to board member comments, discussions. Anyone? Comments?
I had a thought. I know that you said that they could comment, at this time, the students. I didn't know if we ever wanted to move to like allowing like a scheduled report, like if they had anything they wanted to share, student body wise, or like you say, leave it at the last. If, it might be helpful when they go back to their leadership group, if there's something that needs to be presented, that they have a slot, or letting Mr. Hilderly know that you have something to report prior
Even
to the
good
meeting.
news too.
Or maybe
Yeah.
like just having it designated. If there isn't anything, there isn't anything. But I know I watched some other school districts and they did do that. They gave some kind of update on something that was going on. And I don't know, just wanted to bring that to
Not a bad
thought.
plan, but if they're rotating, that could be hard.
True, but you meet as a class,
Yes,
right?
we meet every
Yeah.
day as a class. It's normally the same person same people unless we're like traveling, because in this class we travel to the elementary schools and we are like teaching assistants for the teachers who like need help or want. But pretty much all the information will be circulated around the classroom, so everyone will know what's going on. Ms. Muffin is a great tracker and like knows everything. We're supposed to tell her everything about what goes on.
And maybe just pass along that there's a time to share something if there's something significant at the end, so that, people know how the agenda goes, and then you'll know you have that opportunity. Because I think that's important.
No, just whenever I step up, there's no order. Comments? Sometimes I want to wait. Okay, that's fine. No pressure. Anybody else?
No pressure.
Yeah, with Will coming in here and expressing not just what his calculus students did. When you think about that, 4.5, 1 out of 5, that's 90%, over 90% score from our students on an AP test. That's rocking it. And the other, he mentioned Parker as another person who did as well as he did. It's not just isolated to him. And Like I said once before, it's like a state championship when you can do something. That's a phenomenal. It's like a hole in one, if you're a golfer. It's just amazing that they can do that. And the fact that if we can continue to do those things, I mean, we got to get that out. That's got to go on websites. It's got to be
bragging.
We got to put something on billboards.
Yep,
Good
bragging
grief.
rights right
I mean,
there.
it's that stuff's up, problem with valedictorians. Nobody knows who they are until May of their senior year. So we got to take the lid off this one. And the football team being 3-0 right now, going into a big game with Adrian, it'd be nice to see that get 1-2. That's a nice start. There's a lot of good things going on. I think we got our feet underneath us for once. Our first time in a while to start the school year. We don't have COVID. We don't have anything else. Yeah, Harry Park's without power, but like Tim said, when we went there, it didn't have electricity then either.
That's a lie.
I don't know. I can't remember if it did or not. 65.
I would agree. I'm very impressed by the AP results. I would like to see those teachers share some of their methods with all of the teachers in the district. I think from an equity standpoint, I agree AP is important and football is important, but I think the lessons learned through them as teachers and what they've done with the students taking those classes can really help all levels of performing students. And so I think it's important to maybe consider how they can support and share their best practices moving forward. So I was excited to see that as K through 12 STEM. That's a pretty big opportunity. And I'd like to thank the two young ladies here tonight for joining us.
Yes, I second
Great
that.
job.
That was going to be my big comment.
You're both very well spoken, and we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Did you volunteer to be first, or did you?
Are you voluntold? Are you
No,
voluntold?
we volunteered. We are both part of our studios Nutcracker. We're both dancers, so we thought that starting it early would be easier than doing it later in the year.
As well as I was excited to start off the year.
Yeah.
So
We put the bar up high for everybody.
We
You
have
can go
some
back
great
and tell 'em
students
that.
will come in here and talk
All right.
as the year goes on.
Anybody else?
I know at one point we were talking about student dress code. Maybe you want to give everybody an update because I know so you can form a committee and so forth on that. So,
Yep.
so that was your comments. You probably didn't know this, but he's going to tell you what's going on. with
Right,
that, so.
and Mrs. Irish is here.
I
She-
talked to students about that at the beginning when we had our talk about handbooks that you guys had asked that we revisit that, have something together by summer. So I did survey the students to get their input. I left a message with Chamber of Commerce. They called me back. So we've been playing phone tag because I want their help to reach out to businesses to kind of get input on what they expect out of dress from their employees. To kind of put all that data together for you.
Good
Oh, it's
job.
in process.
So we're
Thank
getting,
you.
We're getting parents' feedback too. Then?
We will,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, great.
That's
And
great to
student.
know.
And student.
And students, yeah.
and
Yes.
Student feedback is either done or
Yep.
taking place.
Did you get a good percentage of students who replied?
The seniors, I had about half,
Mm-hmm.
and then the percentages kind of down.
Okay.
So,
But that's
I-
good.
but
You
it
had
wasn't
that
the last
data.
time I
Everybody
asked.
had an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, I told them I would take those answers and then send out another survey, maybe with more
Gotcha.
specific things, so.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think too, let's consider, and hopefully the students will help build the new policy, right? But school day versus special events and kind of what's expected there, I think can be a little different. And I'm an employer. Yeah, we have some expectations. We don't typically like to see difference, but at the end of the day, if they're talented and they have the skills, you kind of learn through your own process what's acceptable and what's not versus kind of being what's told to you about dress code. So, I think please consider all stakeholders like you're doing and bring us back to policy.
Well, there's a happy medium somewhere. I mean, this same
Yeah.
thing, I went round and round with my Lexi. Would I hire her? No, I probably wouldn't have. And she knows that.
Right.
But did she wear it to school? Yes, she did. So, there you go. There's a happy medium somewhere.
Well, and I think too, we have discussions about what the middle school dress code says versus the high school dress code.
Of course.
Some consistency, but also realizing, that's two different stages of development.
Exactly.
Okay.
December, right?
All right, so the only,
Yes.
the only thing, I just want to thank Mr. Hilderly and all the staff who's no longer here, because we did get off to a good start, right? I mean, that didn't happen by accident. I mean, there's always in the organization of this many people and this many buildings, there's always a few hiccups, but in general, things were great, and I thank you, and please pass on to especially the elementary, the school staff to that as well, so.
Sure.
And again, thanks to all the board members, lots of committees meeting. Rick kind of sent out an email the other day, hey, I don't think I have a committee meeting today. Did I miss something? Right? So the day that we don't have a committee meeting causes him to be concerned because he thinks he's missing them. That's how many things are happening behind the scenes. So thank you all for all your hard work on that. With that, does anybody else have anything?
I was just gonna echo you that since we've been on the board, this has been the best start. I didn't hear a single bus report.
Your neighborhood middle schoolers and high schoolers picked up at the top of their.
Yeah, we probably
Yes.
did.
But we didn't drop one off at the wrong place that I heard about anyway.
Nobody was sleeping on the bus.
They all got home before 6.
And they did. So
And the bus driver that drives by our house actually goes like 30 instead of 50. That's
All right,
better
if
than
there's
last
no other
year.
comments,
that
I'll
was great.
accept the motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Support.
The move second to adjourn the meeting, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Being adjourned.
Well, great.
Thank you.